In every forgotten corner, in every ancient house, memories linger like dust motes in sunlight, some warm and comforting, others dark and unsettling. This is the story of one such house, where the past refuses to stay buried and where unseen presences walk alongside the living. Read on if you dare, but be warned. Some things, once seen, cannot be unseen. There was a very old house from a time when relationships of love were established, and people actually gave time to each other. As soon as the clock struck 8 in the night, all family members would gather in front of the screen, which was called TV. Time has changed so much since then. Back then, a large antenna was installed on the roof, and the process of catching a signal was quite an event. A person from the TV cantina would stand in front of the TV. Another would position themselves at a distance from the room where the TV was kept, able to relay messages. On the roof, someone would be rotating the antenna installed on bamboo, turning the needle slowly to catch the signal. The person standing in front of the TV would give directions. Rotate it a little more, a little more. His voice would reach the person in the middle, who would relay the message to the person on the roof. These three people worked together to clear the TV signal, a true family affair. It all started with black and white TVs, which later transformed into color. Instead of just color, there came antennas with multiple channels through cable. Then the internet arrived, creating a global village in the mobile world. Now, everyone watches whatever they want on their own devices. If someone wants to watch something, they simply open YouTube. The waiting is gone. Back then, you had to wait for dramas to air at 8:00. There were special dramas on Friday, Sunday, and Monday. When those dramas aired at 8:00, the streets would become empty. Everyone would be sitting in front of their TVs. If someone from your town appeared even briefly in one of these dramas, they became the hero of the area, achieving instant fame. Everyone would proudly mention that they had seen someone from their town on TV. Some of my own memories are woven into this tapestry. In 1995, I worked in a Dramami first one, though small. It was the era of Pakistan television, PTV, when nothing else had yet appeared on TV. There was only Pakistan television, and I acted in an Islamabad drama in 1995. There was great excitement in my city that a local boy had appeared on TV. It feels good to remember those past days, to recall the love-filled period when time hadn't become so heavy. Back then, everyone had time, free time. Today, no one has time. We have everything, yet there's no peace, no free time, no love. Now it's the era of when we will die, we will pass away. You and I are sitting in front of screens right now to listen to this story. When we too pass away, this world will keep going. Those who come after us will say this era was very good, while they complain about their own. Everyone always says the previous era was better. Perhaps that's just the way of things. In those days, a TV would be set up in a common space, and all family members would gather to watch the drama. First, they would eat dinner because there was always a hurry to finish food quickly before the drama started. If dinner was at 7:30, everyone would eat very quickly. No one wanted to miss a moment of the show. One such evening, a 9-10-year-old boy named Rafiq was among those children and family members watching the drama. He sat with his elder brother in his uncle's house. After the drama ended, there was gossiping for some time, and then slowly everyone went to their respective beds. It was night, and Rafiq also went to his Beta Charpai, traditional bed. In the countryside, especially in summers, a mat made of date palm is laid on the cot. A sheet is kept at the foot of every bed in case a harsh wind blows at night or you feel cold. It was around 2:00 in the morning. Rafiq didn't have a watch to check the time, but he knew it was late. He suddenly heard a sound that woke him. As his eyes opened, his ears continued to hear the noise, the sound of someone dragging their shoe on the ground. The courtyard floor was unpaved, raw earth, with a tree in the middle. Someone was dragging their shoe across this ground. Rafiq tried to determine the direction of the sound. Looking toward it, he could see the old tree under which they had watched TV earlier that night. After the viewing, the table, chair, and TV had been taken inside to prevent theft. But now, under that tree, he saw something strange, a heap that looked like wood, or perhaps an old man. It seemed like someone was sitting there, holding a mat in one hand. This figure kept both feet on the ground and dragged them backward, creating the scraping sound Rafiq heard. Looking closely, Rafiq realized this presence was strange enough, entirely clear, but perceptible. The figure appeared to be an old man with a bent back. His face lacked color, and his clothes and posture resembled an elderly village resident. The most disturbing aspect was that Rafiq could see through him. Unlike a normal person whose body would block the view behind them, this figure was partially transparent. The old man kept rubbing his shoes on the ground, creating that eerie sound. Rafiq realized this was no ordinary person. Despite being a child, he understood he was witnessing something supernatural. Frightened, he quickly pulled the sheet over his head and lay still. After a while, he cautiously peeked out to see if anyone else in the house had heard the sound. Looking around, he saw everyone sleeping deeply. Only he was aware of the strange visitor. When he looked back toward the tree, the old man was still there, sitting and dragging his shoes. Terrified, Rafiq hid under the sheet again. Despite the summer heat, fear kept him covered. Eventually, exhaustion overcame his terror, and he fell asleep. When morning came, Rafiq's first action was to tell his family about the night's events. He described the old man-like figure through whom one could see, and how he had been dragging his shoes on the ground. He asked if anyone else had heard the sound or seen the figure. Everyone said no. His uncle reassured him, "Son, you were scared and saw a dream. There was nothing like that. There was no elderly person in the house, nor did anyone hear any sound." But Rafiq insisted, "Uncle, I heard his voice. Uncle, I saw him clearly, not once, but many times." Understanding the boy's fear, his uncle kindly said, "Okay, if you ever see such a thing again, wake me up, don't worry. If you ever feel scared like this, just wake me up." The uncle said this because he knew Rafiq was staying for a few more days, and he didn't want the child to suffer from fear all night. The day passed, and night came again. Everyone ate dinner as usual, and brought the TV outside to watch their show. They sat for a while, talked, then moved the TV back inside the room. Everyone went to sleep on their respective beds. Around 12:30 in the morning, Rafiq was drifting in and out of sleep when he saw his elder brother get up, presumably to use the bathroom. There was no indoor plumbing in the village. House people had to go outside to relieve themselves, often heading toward the fields. Rafiq remained awake, waiting for his brother to return. Time passed, and his worry grew. His brother had been gone too long. Remembering his uncle's words, Rafiq got up and went to wake him. "Uncle," he said, shaking him gently. His uncle's eyes opened, and he asked what was wrong. "Brother went to the bathroom and hasn't returned yet," Rafik explained. "It's been quite a while." The uncle sat up and looked toward the cot where Rafik's brother should have been sleeping. Indeed, it was empty. "How do you know when he left?" the uncle asked. "I was awake and kept waiting for him. Top return," Rafik said. "When he didn't come back for a long time, I came to wake you." "Let's go look for him outside," the uncle suggested. They went outside the house to a dirt road that led straight to the graveyard. In the distance, illuminated by moonlight, Rafik spotted something. "Uncle, look there. I think someone is walking in the moonlight." Far away on the dirt road, a figure was moving. "That must be him," the uncle said. "It's too far to go on foot at this time of night. Wait, I'll bring the bike." He retrieved his motorcycle, seated Rafik behind him, and drove toward the dirt road. The journey should have taken only 5 to 7 minutes, but something strange happened. Despite driving at speed, the distance seemed to stretch. The figure they were pursuing appeared to move farther away the closer they got. After about 10-12 minutes, much longer than it should have taken, they finally reached the gate of the graveyard. There they found Rafik's brother walking like a robot, moving straight ahead without turning left or right. His eyes were closed as if sleepwalking, though he'd never had this habit before. He was about to enter the graveyard when they reached him. They ran to him, calling his name and stopping him, only to find he wasn't in his senses. They shook him and called out to him, but he only mumbled in his sleep. Understanding his condition, they quickly caught him and brought him back to the motorcycle. When they tried to start the bike, it wouldn't ignite. After several attempts, the engine finally turned over. "Quickly, make him sit behind," the uncle said. Rafik helped his brother onto the bike and sat behind him. But when the uncle tried to drive, another strange thing happened. Although the bike was running and the gear was engaged, it wouldn't move forward. It felt as if someone was holding the back of the bike, preventing it from advancing despite the engine's power. The scene was eerie. They stood at the gate of the graveyard, with the sleeping brother between them, and the motorcycle refusing to move despite the uncle's efforts. It was as if the wheels were jammed or held in place by an invisible force. Realizing what might be happening, the uncle began reciting verses from the Quran in a loud voice. Rafik, sitting behind, joined in. As they recited, the bike began to move slowly at first, as if still restrained, then gradually picking up speed as their recitation grew louder. The bike finally moved at its normal pace, but Rafik sensed something behind them. He turned to look, but saw nothing unusual. They continued forward, but Rafik couldn't shake the feeling that something was following them. When he looked back again, he glimpsed a horrifying sight: an impossibly long arm extending from the graveyard all the way to their bike, trying to grab them from behind. Only their recitation of the Quran was keeping it at bay. Panicked, Rafik told his uncle about the pursuing arm, and they continued their recitation even more fervently until they reached home safely. By then, the arm was gone. They helped the brother, still in his sleepwalking state, to his bed. Both Rafik and his uncle remained awake for some time before finally falling asleep themselves. In the morning, when they mentioned the night's events to Rafik's brother, he was bewildered. "What story are you telling? I never got up from my cot. I didn't go outside at night. I don't sleepwalk. I don't know what you're talking about." And this was true. Rafik's brother had no memory of the incident. Only Rafik and his uncle knew what had happened that night. Time passed quickly. Rafik grew up, completed his education, and opened a shop. He earned enough to live comfortably, thanking God for his blessings. Though he still remembered the supernatural incidents from his childhood, he was now focused on practical matters, opening his shop in the morning and returning home at night. One day, a girl came to his shop to make a purchase. With his eyes downcast, as was his modest habit, he handed her the item she requested. He didn't notice that she was watching him intently. A few days later, she returned. This time, he sensed her staring and looked up to find her smiling at him. Embarrassed, he lowered his eyes again. This pattern continued over several visits. Each time she would smile at him, and eventually, he found the courage to look back at her, though he couldn't yet return her smile. Finally, one day, he smiled back tentatively, acknowledging her interest. The relationship progressed until she asked for his phone number. They began calling each other at night, having simple conversations about their days and what they had eaten. Despite their shyness, the girl eventually confessed, "I like you and am compelled by my heart to say I have fallen in love with you. What do you think of me?" Rafik admitted he loved her too and wanted to marry her. She told him he would need to bring a formal marriage proposal to her house. In this simple way, they arranged their marriage, and soon the girl became Rafik's wife. After they were married and became more comfortable with each other, his wife revealed something surprising. "When I was small," she said, "I urinated at a certain place, and a jinn appeared there. I didn't know that it started following me. It used to trouble me a lot and scare me. But now this spirit is not with me." Rafik observed that indeed his wife seemed free of any supernatural presence. Life continued normally, with him going to his shop daily and returning at night. But from the second month of marriage, something changed. His business began to decline. Customers stopped coming, and income dwindled until he had to close the shop. Unable to pay the rent, they were forced to move. They relocated to a distant city and rented a small house. It had a room on the top floor accessed by stairs, and below was a small storage-like space filled with old junk. Rafik never used this lower area. It was already filled with others' belongings when they moved in. In their new situation, Rafik went out daily looking for work to earn enough for rent and food. One day, when he returned home, his wife expressed fear. "I don't know why," she said, "but I feel there is something in this house." Rafik dismissed her concerns. "This is a new place. There's nothing like that. Don't pay attention to such things. You're there during the day when it's light, and at night, I'm with you. You're probably just scared when you're alone." But a few days later, he returned to find his wife terrified. "I've seen an old lady below the stairs," she said. Her hair was completely white, but filled with mud and tangled. Her face was turned downward, and she was sitting and crying. She explained hearing the sound of crying and investigating its source. When she looked down the stairs, she saw the old woman with her head on her knees, thin and dark, crying like a little girl despite her elderly appearance. Frightened, she had run back upstairs to wait for Rafik's return. Rafik went to check, but found no one. When he returned upstairs, his wife insisted, "When you opened the door and came out, she entered inside. She's still in the room or on the roof." He searched the entire house, but found nothing. Holding his wife's shoulders, he tried to reassure her that she had imagined it. She calmed down enough to cook dinner, but over the next few days, the pattern repeated. Each day at the same time, she would suddenly become agitated, claiming to see 3 women entering their house and someone walking on the roof. On the 4th day, exasperated with her claims, Rafik decided to prove there was nothing to fear. You say this every day, and I open the door every day to show you no one is there, he said. I'll open it again, and you'll see there's nothing. He grabbed his wife's arm and took her to the door. Look, no one is there, he said as he opened it. But as soon as the door swung open, his wife's body began to contort. Her shoulders twisted, her eyes rolled upward, and her body began to shake violently. Realizing she was about to collapse, he caught her and carried her to the bed. Once there, he saw that his wife was no longer herself. Her body had twisted unnaturally, her toes and fingers bent at impossible angles, her eyes rolled back in her head. Most terrifying of all, the voice coming from her mouth was not hers. Instead of her soft feminine voice, a heavy male voice emerged, speaking words Rafik couldn't understand. He realized in horror that some entity had possessed his wife. Whatever she had been seeing for the past 3 days had now taken control of her body. When he had forced her to the door to show there was nothing there, the entity had seized its opportunity. Facing this supernatural crisis, Rafik remembered the protective ritual he had learned. He quickly created a circle of protection, blowing on himself and the entire house to prevent anything else from entering. With the circle established, he stood at his wife's bedside and began reciting verses from the Quran Ayatul Kursi and the 4 kuls, blowing gently after each recitation. Within the protection of the circle, he felt confident that whatever possessed his wife couldn't harm him. He continued reciting, and gradually her condition improved. Eventually, she fell unconscious. Rafik brought water, and when she regained consciousness and opened her eyes, she sat up suddenly. "What happened to me?" she asked, confused. "Why are you standing like this? Why are you looking at me like this? Why am I lying down?" Rafik realized she had no memory of what had happened. "You felt dizzy and fell down," he said simply, offering her the water. She drank it and returned to normal, unaware of the supernatural battle that had just taken place. And so their story continues, a tale of love and the supernatural, of ancient presences that refuse to be forgotten, and of the protective power of faith against the darkness that sometimes finds its way into our world.